Okay, next we have my friend and colleague, Marni Jameson. Marni is going to be speaking about what's good for doctors is good for America. She is the executive director of the Association of Independent Doctors, which has it's actually out there in 30 states with 1,000 members. She has 30 years of experience as a healthcare reporter at the Los Angeles Times and at the Orlando Sentinel. So she has been a godsend to me personally getting this together in the last 2 weeks, because when you're a doctor, they don't tell you how to write a press release, they don't teach you how to connect with the press, etc. So without further ado, my friend and colleague, Marni. We do need someone to unlock the screen. Anyone?
We need a password and username or something, but anyway, I can start.
Okay.
Code's been called. Is there a physician in the house? All right, well, I can get started. Thank you all for being here. I am a journalist. I've wrote for the LA Times, for Orlando Sentinel since 1995. And a couple of years ago, as I was reporting on healthcare issues in Orlando, I met a group of accountants who managed about 115 individual medical groups, and they were seeing firsthand the decimation of the healthcare profession from a financial perspective and how devastating that was to patients and to communities as hospitals were buying up medical group practices and turning independent doctors into employed physicians. And they were telling me about this and getting riled up and saying somebody needs to start an association. Well, they looked at one another and said, well, maybe that should be the two of them. These are two really bright accountants with full practices, 24 employees. You know, their practice is so busy it's closed to clients. And they did. They've got 100 doctors together. And I covered the first meeting of the Association of Independent Doctors in April of 2013 as a reporter for the Orlando Sentinel. It was on the front page the next day, and that story got shared around the country, and they got together a group of doctors who felt very profound that their profession needed to be saved. And fast forward to September of 2014, and that group of doctors was getting bigger, and the two founders couldn't continue to handle it, and they asked me to dinner and asked me if I would run the association for them and become the executive director. I looked around at journalism. I had 2 kids in college. I thought, this might be a good move. So I became the executive director in September of 2014, and since then, if I only had slides, hang on. Well, it would be lovely to have slides, but I'll let the technical people address that if they can. But we've been growing. We're in 31 states with 1,000 members. We have chapters in 4 states in California, New England, Southern California, and South Carolina. What do? You all have a lot, with the physicians in this room, have a lot of issues to address. We focus on the financial issues. What I'm here to talk about are access and affordability. And I don't think access is a problem if healthcare is affordable. So I'm going to present 4 moves today that will greatly and radically reduce healthcare costs, return the healthcare back to the physicians who should be running it, not corporate America, and save our country hundreds of billions of dollars and improve access. I think those are ideas. Last night we had coffee with drink with Brian Fitzpatrick, who I saw earlier today, a representative, and he said, well, I hear a lot of complaining, but what are your ideas? What are your ideas? Well, I have some ideas, and I think these are ones that can be taken forward. So first of all, if I only had a slide to show you, there are many associations that do this. We are not some pointy-elbowed group that is trying to knock out other associations and be the only voice in this space. PPA is a coalition of many voices. Let My Doctor Practice, Benjamin Rush Institute, Doctors for Patient Care, a lot of organizations. We are all looking at this from a variety of angles, and we all have 3 things in common. We're trying to get the intrusion out of the patient's room, the intrusion from government, the intrusion from hospital administrators, and the intrusion from insurance payers. They have no business in that room, and they're keeping patients away from doctors, and they're intruding in care. So we all have those goals in mind, and our voices are merging. And I think the more collective our voices, the stronger it will be. The problem doctors have had, and I've worked with them all my life, is they're very disenfranchised. They're very focused on their own agendas. They're very focused on their own patients, as they should be, and they're terrible organizers. So I think if we can get a coalition and herd them together and try to get some unity, we can start making some inroads and start solving some of these problems. So as I promised you, 4 moves to cut healthcare dramatically and improve costs dramatically by hundreds of billions of dollars over a few years, dramatically improve quality and access, all while doing what's best for America's doctors. Because again, if doctors get up here and complain, it sounds like they're whining. I get up here and complain, it sounds like I'm advocating, because I'm not a physician. I'm a consumer. I'm with the media. I'm trying to explain why this is good for America to do what's right for independent doctors. Is there any hope in sight for slides? Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of talking through the slides now, but oh well, it'll be a reinforcement. Okay, so step 1 of the 4 moves I think we need to make is to stop the consolidation of America's doctors and corporate medicine. Hospitals have been on a buying spree, largely because of Obamacare, but even before then. So in the year 2000, 57% of physicians were independent doctors. Today, that's 33%, 1 in 3. The trend is going the wrong direction. Obamacare has fueled it because of the reliance on payment for outcomes versus actual fee for service, because of the need for electronic medical records and all the encumbrances that keep getting piled on the doctors. They're throwing up their hands and they're saying, to heck with it, I'll go to work for the hospital because this is over my head. I wasn't trained to run a business. I was trained to treat patients. So I get why doctors have to go into employed medicine. I think it's unfortunate. The other part that's feeding this is the hospitals get a whole lot more money for the same care if they had doctors employed versus an independent doctor, which allows them to, you know all that, allows them to buy it. So we're trying to stop consolidation, trying to stop the hospitals from buying up the medical groups, which not only drives up patient costs astronomically, and I'll show you examples in a couple minutes, but it demoralizes physicians because they are now having to use the gloves the administrator tells them to use, or they need to make rounds where a 4-year MBA student is telling them to make rounds. And who's someone who's half their age and has no experience in healthcare, and they're telling the hospital administrators are telling them what knee replacement joint they can use because that's when they get on sale. So these are the kinds of things that are causing doctors to rail, but they're handcuffed, and then they have a non-compete clause. So even if they hate it and their contracts get worse every year because they're not meeting the quotas, the unreasonable quotas the hospitals are setting on them, they can't leave because they have a non-compete clause and have to sit out for a year or not practice medicine within 50 miles. So that's a problem. I'd like to stop the consolidation altogether. AID and I personally have worked with the FTC and have written amicus briefs in 3 different cases across America, and we have shut down the Hershey Pinnacle merger in Pennsylvania. We have shut down the Advocate North Shore merger in Illinois, and we have shut down the St. Luke's and Salzer Medical Group merger in Idaho, because we have written papers for the Federal Trade Commission. I'm very proud of that work that we've done. But we need to get the message out to consumers that consolidation is bad for America, it's bad for doctors, and it's bad for healthcare. It only drives costs one way, and it drives quality down. No matter what the hospitals tell you about seamless integration of medicine and efficiencies and all of that, doesn't happen. There's not one study out there that will tell you that competition lowers costs and improves quality. It doesn't happen. In fact, the opposite happens, and there are studies to prove that. So number 1, stop the consolidation. That'll lower healthcare costs and improve quality and be better for independent doctors. Step number 1. Step number 2, and I don't know why we don't have this. It's so obvious, except for we have a lot of lobbyists that see it otherwise. We need transparency. Transparency in our healthcare costs. In no other industry do you get your medicine and then pay for it afterward, get your product and pay for it afterwards, and you don't even know what you're getting at all. We need cash prices. I would like to ask the administration, we have 4 asks of our administration. 1 is to remove the incentives for hospitals to buy up medical practices. 2 is to create transparent programs where insurance companies have to post what they online so all their consumers can see what my MRI costs if I go here, here, or here. I think all doctors and all hospitals should post their cash prices, their real honest to goodness cash prices. If I choose to be self-insured, what am I going to pay for this? And let the hospitals and Medicare, government payers and commercial players level it out, start seeing what the real dollar amount is and start adjusting, because it's all smoke and mirrors. And we're never going to get lower healthcare costs and clarity unless patients can shop as consumers with knowledge of the pricing. So I would ask our legislators to please look into how we can create a marketplace where we have transparency and open books so people can know what they're buying before they buy it. The third thing I would like to ask of the administration is for the elimination of facility fees. Facility fees are added costs that hospitals layer in that add absolutely no value. So an independent physician one day is charging $1,000 for an echocardiogram. That physician becomes employed as a cardiologist. Wes can probably speak to this. As an employed doctor, it's $4,000 for the same treatment. Why? Because first of all, the hospitals can bargain for higher rates. Second of all, they have a facility fee they layer in. And that's so they argue, the Hospital Association very effectively argues, and you can argue effectively when you have $20 million a year to lobby with, that these facility fees are required for them to keep their lights on and take care of patients 24/7. Well, we think that's fat in the system that can be removed. And it also is part of what greases the flywheel to get the hospitals to buy up the medical group so they can charge more and pay them more salaries and keep that whole momentum going of consolidation and mergers across America, which is devastating the practice of medicine. Again, access, if we can lower the cost, access gets taken care of on its own. It's not about, Obamacare was all about access and affordability. Well, giving people insurance is not the same as giving people access. We have a lot of people with cars and no gas. So we need to make sure that it's access and affordability, and that's how it's going to shake out. So I would respectfully ask the administration to please look into situations where they will reverse the facility fee, pull it out of the system, and that would help. That would be good for America's doctors, return care to the American doctor, and stop the costs from escalating. Now, if there were only slides, imagine a slide that has a freestanding independent facility and a hospital outpatient facility, same procedures. And this is from MedPAC. This is the Medicare Payment Advisory Commission. This is a commission the government asked and formed to advise them on how to reduce Medicare costs. Now, you'd think they would listen to the advice of their own commission that they formed. Well, every year, the MedPAC, Medicare Payment Advisory Committee, has requested that they eliminate facility fees and have what's called site-neutral payments, pay independent doctors the same as employed physicians. Moreover, drop the fee to employed doctors so it's even, reduce costs, right? Well, here are some examples. And heart catheterization, I told you that one. EKG in a freestanding center averages $373. Hospital outpatient is $1,605. An MRI, the cheapest one, $319 versus $1,591. Okay, that's just that. Now, imagine two charts. Okay, we have independent doctor over here, employed doctor over here. Employed doctors are required by the facility that employs them to refer only to employed physicians and refer only to hospital-owned facilities, all of which layer in facility fees. So again, you're all bright people, you can do the mental math. Look at the compounding. I have a knee problem. I go to my primary care doctor, independent, who sends me to an orthopedist who's independent, who sends me to an outpatient MRI, which is freestanding, which sends me to an outpatient surgical center for my arthroscopy. Okay, so maybe it's $10,000 because they don't have facility fees. On this side, every one of those fees, every step, independent, employed doctor, employed specialist, hospital-owned MRI, hospital-owned surgical center, it's times 4. So now we go to $40,000. Now multiply that out by all the patients in America who are unwittingly going to employed doctors because they don't know. They don't go in and say, are you independent or employed? They go in and say, do you take Blue Cross? So they don't know. So they're part of this system. So if everyone would go to the independent route, we would cut our costs by 75%. So this message needs to get out. The problem is it's all hamstrung by lobbyists from the Hospital Association that are making sure they continue to capture these facility fees. So I would like to respectfully ask the administration to please make transparency available, facility fees, remove them, or at least make them transparent. I have a slide that shows in Connecticut, it's the only state that actually has a law on the books that requires all facilities that charge facility fees make them transparent to their consumer. Well, that's brilliant. And they also have to say it's the law that, oh, by the way, if you went to an independent facility or an independent doctor, you wouldn't pay these facility fees. No help, no technological help. Oh, well. So that would mean that the consumer could actually vote. Oh, gosh, if I went down the street and had an MRI, I wouldn't have to pay this much. That would be, that's what's going on in Connecticut. I would like to see the administration outlaw facility fees and get the parity back, but at the very least, make them transparent. We had the honor of meeting with Governor LePage in Maine. AID has 250 doctors who are members from the state of Maine. Maine's a dinky state population-wise. It has 2.3 million people. Governor LePage listened to me and two other physicians from Maine speak about the facility fee issue. We are affecting change. This year I got a copy of his budget from the legislative aid, and there on page 19, he has, and I will read this to you, eliminate separate facility fees for hospital-based physicians for Medicaid. Only. Because as a state, he can only control the Medicaid dollars. But because we went there and we sat down with him and we said, look at what's happening, he's put it in the budget for this coming year to not use Medicaid dollars to pay facility fees. How much is the dinky state of Maine going to save in just Medicaid? $11.4 million. That's real money, times 50 states. That's just in Medicaid. Imagine if we stripped it out of Medicare as well as commercial insurance. Real money, hundreds of billions of dollars could be restored instantly. So we would respectfully ask the administration to please make those moves to level the playing field, eliminate the incentive to create hospital monopolies, take away the facility fees, and save Americans hundreds of billions of dollars. My last point, we've already saved a lot of money, would you agree? We've already helped independent doctors, would you agree? We've already helped America, would you agree? And there's one more. Stop the abuse of the tax-exempt status by nonprofit hospitals and hold them accountable. 62% of the hospitals in America are nonprofit. Well, let me rephrase that. 62% of the hospitals in America are tax exempt. 3,900 of the 5,500 hospitals in America do not pay taxes at all. They pay no property tax, they pay no tangible personal property tax, no sales tax, no income tax, either state or federal, at all. And this is in exchange for providing free and charitable care. Now, folks, the nuns are gone. There used to be charitable care. In the 60s, there really were nuns who took people in and provided care for free and didn't pay taxes, and that was legitimate. And there are legitimate nonprofit associations providing health care, but most of our hospital systems that fly under the nonprofit tax-exempt banner are not one of them. In Florida, where I'm from Central Florida, in the 5 counties that are Central Florida counties, there are 2 huge hospitals, Florida Hospital and Orlando Health. For some reason, even though we're only the 26th largest metro right behind San Antonio, we're a Midland-sized metro, we have 2 of the largest, the number 3 and the number 11th largest hospital system, and they're both nonprofits. They are decimating our community. They are buying up hospital groups, buying up clinics, taking that money off of the tax rolls and saying it's charitable care. This is a statement from the Orlando Sentinel's reporter, it wasn't me. If the hospitals owned or operated by Adventist Health or Orlando Health weren't nonprofits, they would have owed a combined $50 million in taxes last year. Only property tax, not the other ones. $50 million in taxes last year on more than $2 billion of property across 5 counties. But generous exemptions granted to nonprofit hospitals nearly wiped their tax bill clean. Wrap it up. $50 million buys a lot of health care. $50 million buys a lot of police officers, buys a lot of teachers in classrooms, puts in Little League fields. It could go a long way to the community, but no. We end up paying more in property taxes because they're taking taxes off the tax rolls by buying small businesses who are paying taxes. So if I had my slides, I would show you what they... Do I get a nomination for an Oscar or something for this? I don't know. I would show you a chart that shows the charge master price and Medicare allowable price. It is easily 4 to 5 times more, and even more. So major cardiovascular procedure, they say, the charge master price, they say that if they do that for free, it's worth $118,000. Medicare allowable is $21,000. That's about 6 times. So chest pain, $25,000. Medical allowable is $3,800. So they inflate what they say is charitable care, pat themselves on the back so much that their arms bend. Meanwhile, in just these 2 facilities in Florida, there are 9 executives making $1 million or more a year at nonprofits. I'm sorry. I think that's excessive compensation. They have skyboxes, they have boondoggle trips, they are making a lot of money, and they do not sign one patient chart, and they have a third of the education that most of you have. I don't think that's right. Now, if I had my chart, I would show you the growth of physician administrators has increased over the growth of doctors over the last 40 years, 2,300 times. We have way too many administrators, and they're part of the problem, and they need to be streamlined out. So I respectfully ask the new administration to end the abuse of the tax-exempt status by requiring nonprofit hospitals to provide true, just in time, true non-inflated charitable care reports, or by requiring that those that behave like for-profits to pay taxes. For-profit hospitals actually do provide charitable care and pay taxes. Good for them, they should. So I'm asking, please, either ask them to pay taxes or behave like for-profits. Well, that's brilliant. So, Cheers. Yes, that's mine. I'm going to go through rapidly, but okay. These moves would return and to correct the overcompensation that are paid to hospitals, physicians. So, bear with me. This will be.
Marni, would you like to kind of talk about this?
I'm going to do that really quickly. Here's the voices are merging. Oops. This is what we all have in common. Here's a review. I feel like a real professor now. Speak out against government intrusion, hospital takeovers, insurer tyranny. We're going to cut healthcare costs by $100 billion. I think we've established that. Dramatically improve quality and access, all while helping America's doctors. We're going to stop the consolidation of hospitals and medical practices, because hospitals are buying because the more money, bigger they are, the more money they can get, the more market share they capture, and the more bargaining power they have. Hospital mergers are bad for America because they reduce competition, dull the competitive edge, cause costs to skyrocket, eliminate jobs, and demoralize doctors. This is our ask, stop the consolidation in healthcare by removing incentives driving the trend. By the way, if anyone in here is a lawmaker or has access to a lawmaker, these points are in the white folder over there, and I would welcome you to take those for some fodder. Increased price transparency. I don't think there's any argument here, so consumers can know the prices before they get the procedures and comparison shot. Here's our ask. We ask for transparency in the marketplace, ask groups and clinics and put their cash prices up. We would like insurance companies to also post their prices online so people can make informed choices. This is important, eliminate the facility fee. We saw what an incredible compounding effect that has. It's valuable to patient care. By eliminating them, we can move to site-neutral payments, stop this acquisition appetite for buying up independent doctors, and free them to independent doctors to practice unfettered medicine. This is the chart I was showing you about the difference between freestanding costs and hospital outpatient costs. And I did not cherry pick. These are just common procedures, 4 times more on average. And then you see how it compounds. So here's MedPAC's quote. If just in Medicare, in 66 groups, if we paid independent doctors, if we brought the cost of employed physicians' fees down to what we pay independent doctors, we would save $900 million a year in Medicare. That's significant. That's real money. And commercial insurance then follows suit. Here's the headlines from Connecticut that show that we have a facility fee law. Here's Governor LePage in Maine with my 2 aide members. Here's the elimination of separate facility fees. That's what he's in his budget. This is what we're asking to do. Just require site-neutral payments and eliminate and level the playing field and stop the incentives create monopolies. Hold nonprofit hospitals accountable. Look at these big, huge centers. No property tax whatsoever. We're getting fleeced, and it's all money of it is under the the Christian mission or something. It's ridiculous. Here's the comparison of charge master prices versus total Medicare. Here's the growth of hospital administrators compared to the little brown line at the bottom. That's you. That's physicians. That is where the money is going, folks. That's my ask. Stop. So if we made these 4 moves, we would cut the glut, save hundreds of billions of dollars, improve access, and restore the doctor-patient relationship. If we stop consolidation, eliminate facility fees, encourage transparency, and stop the tax-exempt status abuse, we would save America's doctors. And what's healthy for you is healthy for all America.